And now, our feature presentation.
Well, while I'm appreciative of you being here, this is too little, too late in my opinion, and frankly, on the too little, I would observe that neither side really got answers from you. There was a lot of need to talk to somebody else, need to talk to a different division head. It causes me to wonder how we are going to get those answers, and it's true, maybe the other side's a little more polite about it, but we need to have these answers because this is our constitutional duty, as we, according to the Constitution, are the purse bearers for the U.S. government, meaning you have to come to the House of Representatives for appropriations, and this committee works with our FSGG counterparts on the Appropriations Committee to deal with the policy and the funding of it. So we better start getting some answers when you are, especially as you're coming up and asking.
Mr. Gruol, you frequently acknowledge that public trust and confidence in our capital markets has eroded. In fact, on October 13th, 2021, you stated, quote, "The decline in trust undermines the investor confidence needed for the fair, efficient, and orderly operation of our capital markets. Put simply, if the public doesn't think the system is fair, they are not going to invest their hard-earned money," close quote. I agree. But time and time again, you place the cause of blame for this erosion of trust almost squarely on the shoulders of industry participants and companies. Mr. Gruol, the SEC is in no way blameless here. Chair Gensler's political regime at the SEC, carried out by its Division of Enforcement, has been characterized by a focus on using enforcement to expand SEC jurisdiction at the expense of public resources, public investment in our country, and public trust in our markets. It seems clear to everyone, except maybe those at the Commission, that the SEC is not regulating in good faith. Although many sectors of the industry have grappled with the SEC's politicization of regulation over the last 14 months, it can be seen most clearly when it comes to the digital asset industry. Take, for example, industry sweeps. As you know, industry sweeps are not novel to the digital asset industry. They are a series of voluntary document production request letters as a regulator sends to everyone in a given industry who is similarly situated or is involved in the same type of activity. Mr. Gruol, does the SEC Division of Enforcement do industry sweeps?
We do industry sweeps from time to time when we have industry.
Thank you. The answer is yes. I've reclaimed my time. Are there currently any industry sweeps underway?
So I can't talk about investigations.
You can't talk about it legally, or you won't talk about it?
It's our policy not to confirm or deny investigations.
So you won't talk about it. All right. What do you do if a company, sir, cannot respond to a sweep letter because they're not in your jurisdiction?
If we issue a voluntary request for information, there's not much we can do. We can proceed with the subpoena and then the subpoena enforcement action.
So you do extra jurisdictional requests then?
Voluntary requests are just that. They're voluntary. They're an important part.
Again, sir, I'm not asking about the request now. I'm asking about the people you direct those to. There are some that would be within the SEC's jurisdiction. There are some that are not. My question is, and I think you've confirmed it, that you do industry sweeps to extra jurisdictional market participants, people you do not have enforcement authority over.
We subpoena individuals and witnesses who may be in the market participants.
Are they within your jurisdiction and outside of your jurisdiction?
We're not limited by our jurisdiction. When we're collecting evidence, we follow the evidence wherever it leads and to whomever it leads. There may be someone who doesn't work in the industry.
So I would say, sir, I would ask you, so you do extra jurisdictional work. Some would argue that that's not appropriate. But Mr. Grewal, has Chair Gensler ever directed you, or to your knowledge asked any of your colleagues, to make it a bloodbath for companies who don't respond to a sweep letter, which are voluntary?
No, that's not happening.
Interesting. We become aware that Chair Gensler has in the past directed the Division of Enforcement to send a sweep letter to a particular sector of the crypto community, designed to jam them into a violation that is allegedly unconstitutional. And if any company does not respond to said sweep letter, which I'll reiterate, as you've said several times, are supposed to be voluntary, then the SEC would make it a, quote, bloodbath for them. If true, I imagine such a tactic would significantly erode trust between the public and the SEC. Here's the problem. The SEC isn't interested in clarifying what areas of the crypto industry fall under SEC jurisdiction. We know that because FinHub, that you've referred to, the SEC division focused on crafting crypto regulation, has essentially dissolved under Gensler. Nonetheless, while abandoning good faith attempts to clarify how the Commission's existing authority applies to digital assets, the SEC is hell-bent on expanding the size of its crypto enforcement division and using enforcement to unconstitutionally expand its jurisdiction. Under Chair Gensler, the SEC has become a power-hungry regulator, politicizing enforcement, baiting companies to, quote, come in and talk to the Commission, then hitting them with enforcement actions and discouraging good faith cooperation. Understand, sir, there is a new day coming. Thank you. I yield back.
Up to a Ripple, and how we see this important opportunity where we believe that crypto is the true new normal in finance. Since the very beginning, Ripple has focused on how enterprises can take advantage of blockchain technologies. We've actually been at this for 10 years. We're not new to the scene. We went out to build a use case for our XRP ledger and XRP and built RippleNet, which is involved into a platform for cross-border payments with crypto native services on top. Think instant settlement, lines of credit, liquidity services. And we've been at this now for many years. We're at an inflection point and then some. It is clear that digital assets are becoming increasingly mainstream today. We believe that crypto will reach 10% of global FX volume by this end of 2022. You saw the crypto market cap hit $3 trillion US last year. And importantly, and this is where we really come at it, we've seen fantastic and world-changing and life-changing use cases emerge across finance and tech, payments, identity, lending, NFTs, and so much more. We actually commissioned a report that showed that 76% of global institutions expect to use crypto in the next 3 years. That is across the board. Super hot fintechs that are represented on the panels or keynotes today. That group was out in front from the very beginning, and they're partners of ours. We love working with them. But this is going wider, deeper, and bigger. This field is growing by the minute. Because it is important to understand that at Ripple, we want to work with regulators. We want to build our businesses in geographies where the regulators are open, excited, and understand where blockchain and crypto are going. We want to absolutely reach out, educate, partner with, have a dialogue with regulators around the region, and we have exactly that going on. And so there are parts of the world where this is not the case, where you can't be in the same room as a regulator. They don't want to talk to you. They're not interested in what you have to say. We think there's plenty of markets that have demonstrated that that's not the way they want to operate or the way they want to regulate. And we're super excited to be building our regional headquarters and our teams and our businesses in dynamic markets. We believe there is a nexus here, and I'm going to walk you through how we get there. We had to go away after developing the XRP ledger and XRP and created the company Ripple and build a use case, which is RippleNet, which we've spent years building across 55 plus countries with global world-class banks, many in this region, and really exciting, forward-looking, forward-thinking fintechs and PSPs that also want to be on that network. But we built it on a fiat-based system because we needed to start there. We needed to have a proof case that we could use our technology to begin to move value across the internet, across a payments infrastructure that is still to this day slow, antiquated, costly, inefficient. So we've, for a long time, focused on using crypto and blockchain for cross-border payments with instant settlement, drawing from global liquidity, lines of credit, etc. And we believe that there is a bridge here that we've built. And as we think about what we've done in the last year, as we've turned this fiat-based payment system on with crypto and digital assets, 25% of our volume on the network now is done with our on-demand liquidity product, which is putting XRP on these rails, driving settlements and the movement of value extremely fast, extremely efficiently, in a way that is absolutely documented and is done with a very much of an environmentally green approach behind all of it. If we do our job and bring traditional finance along with what we're trying to do here, wow, it is an absolutely open field to run on. And we're very much seeing that open field running right now for all of us. We believe that what governments are trying to do around the world and think about their own digital currency is a great opportunity. First of all, we've had our own dialogues, and really one of the exciting points over the last year for me has been to work with governments like the government of Bhutan, where we've signed a public partnership as they go down the road of thinking about their own CBDC. We've done so at the Republic of Palau, governments that are trying to think about how they can leapfrog technologies and opportunities to really be in this world of central bank digital currencies or stable coins to make sure that they're not falling behind in this world. The interoperability between these currencies, the ability to advise, to transact, to provide solutions, to provide just advice over time is going to be a big opportunity for many of us and many of you as we think about this. We think 80% of central banks around the world are now actively looking at CBDC solutions. We believe in global liquidity. We believe in tokenization of the world. We're only beginning. This is the start. I could not be more excited to have spent a career building businesses in the region and now to be in this seat at this company with this crowd and this opportunity. And I'm excited for what all of you will discover today and over the next many days.
I'm also on the board of Ripple, which is XRP, cryptocurrency. But I want to make something very, very clear. Blockchain is here to stay. The train has left the station. You're going to hear me quoted about that all the time. As far as I'm concerned, whether it's fractional real estate, whether it's art, whether it's NFTs, blockchain is not going away. So the question is, how do we take advantage of it?
And it's well publicized that I've been very critical of Gary Gensler and the SEC as an example. When you have their enforcement division sending out sweep letters to the crypto community, by the way, and beyond, that they admit are outside of their jurisdiction and then making their lives miserable when they don't provide the information that they want. This is the wild, wild west of regulation. Look, this is going to happen with or without us. In other words, the evolution of digital assets and how people do business together and trade value for value. And it can either happen here in the United States or it's going to go elsewhere. That's why we have the bipartisan blockchain caucus in the House, which is the go-to organization in Congress for all things digital. And I would argue that the growth of that caucus shows you where we're headed. Our colleagues on the other side of the aisle, even though crypto, to me, and the entire area of digital assets is not a Republican or a Democrat thing. The Democrats are currently in charge of Congress. They are the ones with the gavels and the subpoena authority, and they have not been holding bureaucrats like Gary Gensler accountable for his behavior. So I think what you will see, assuming that what we're seeing is accurate, that there will be a new day coming and that Republicans will take back control of the House and perhaps the Senate as well. You will see aggressive congressional oversight because that's only going to strengthen our system of government, right? Bureaucrats like Gary Gensler do not make the laws. But assuming Republicans win the House in the midterms in November, we will then have the subpoena power, which will force the SEC and Gary Gensler to comply with the requests in our letters. And we've sent several of them already. and it will give us the tools to hold him accountable. Unfortunately, Tony, I think the behavior of Gary Gensler and some others, Rohit Chopra, I'm going to call him, and others, the guy at the FDIC, they've been limiting opportunities, especially in this fastest growing area, exciting area involving digital assets.
Some are asking, they wanted me to ask you, can you call for an investigation into such potential conflicts of interest? And how do we get the SEC to restore the confidence back in the public?
Republicans take back the majority. Nothing will stop us from fulfilling our responsibility to act as a check on the executive branch. And I told this to Gary Gensler's enforcement director. A new day is coming. So those listeners, those that you work with that are wondering what we'll do, that's about as direct as I want to get related to the specifics that you just brought up. We will be very aggressive in our oversight. And by the way, making sure that we hold them accountable once we confirm what we know they're doing. That's why I refer to it as the Wild West of regulators. I mean, we're still going to be talking about regulatory clarity, right? The Securities Clarity Act, Blockchain Regulatory Certainty Act, the Safe Harbor for Taxpayers with Forked Assets Act. These types of things, we're going to continue to be talking about them, whether or not we get legislation through the committee before the end of the year. That's a big question, but get ready. Strap on your helmet starting in January of 2023, because I think when it comes to digital assets, we're going to be in for quite a ride. I think Republicans and Democrats will be ready to throw those jerseys off, get on the same team, and see if we can move some of this stuff. And then our biggest challenge at that point will be, Chair Gensler, Director Grunberg, Comptroller Sue, and the CFPB director, who's frankly just been talk about a wild cowboy. It'll be holding them accountable and making sure that the president understands how significant this is to our economy and our future, so that we can get some of these things passed into law.
We're just at the beginning of that journey.
We're just at the beginning of that journey. We're just at the beginning of that journey. We're just at the beginning of that journey.
Know about managing your treasury within consensus and your own personal one?
I guess no comment. So we personally, in terms of consensus, we are a small fraction of the Ethereum asset and all the assets on the Ethereum platform, and we manage our treasury like a company would manage its treasury. Well, how we pay people, when we pay people, etc. And transparency is important to us. Well, how we pay people, when we pay people, etc. But we also have to be strategic about how we pay people, when we pay people, etc. Information that we release, and we, with respect to those sorts of issues, I haven't really thought too much about whether we need to disclose how we pay people, when we pay people, etc.
I think in the dictionary that's called hypocrisy. I find it interesting that Ripple is attacked for being transparent. Because we are very proactive, and we put actually the next XRP markets report, which will be quarterly, will come out sometime into this week. But because we share that information, we're attacked for it, yet other platforms don't share that information, and so they are insulated from those same critiques and criticisms. I think in the dictionary that's called hypocrisy. I'm not 100% sure, but it's close.
Is there any plan for greater transparency within consensus in terms of how it deploys?
And we're a private company, and we
Ripple's a private company too.
Absolutely.
I think in the dictionary that's called hypocrisy.
We also have to be strategic about information that we release, and we, with respect to those sorts of issues.
I think in the dictionary that's called hypocrisy. That's called hypocrisy.
That's called hypocrisy. I'm not.
Like ICOs, is it something that you anticipated at all? That at one point this could happen?
The Ethereum crowd sale itself was kind of an ICO, and then there were sales before that. The Ethereum crowd sale itself was kind of an ICO, and then there were sales before that. There were sales before that.
Wouldn't the crowd fund go towards that development cost, right? I thought that was the idea behind the crowd fund.
Yes.
So then it's the crowd fund plus the pre-mine.
So a lot of people want to be paid in Ether before the currency launches. So we feel that we have to have some mechanism of meeting that desire.
Sure, but is there a conversation going around in your group about the potential to undermine the value of Ether if that pre-mine is just too high?
It's really not high at all. Like it's basically equivalent.
29.4% is not high.
It's equivalent.
I think in the dictionary that's called hypocrisy. I find it interesting that Ripple is attacked for being transparent. Because we are very proactive, and we put actually the next XRP markets report, which will be quarterly, will come out sometime into this week. But because we share that information, we're attacked for it, yet other platforms don't share that information, and so they are insulated from those same critiques and criticisms.
I think there is a reasonable case to be made that if you can come into compliance, if the Securities and Exchange Commission gives some number of months, and I don't know what that is right in a period of time, but some number of months or a year or whatever to come into compliance, then they'll look forward.
I find it interesting that Ripple is attacked for being transparent. I think in the dictionary that's called hypocrisy.
Well, how we pay people, when we pay people, etc.
Like, let's look forward, and there's 1,000+ horses running on the field that got out of the barn. We've got to kind of bring them into compliance.
We also have to be strategic about information that we release, and with respect to those sorts of issues.
And even for Ripple and Ether, or maybe it's EOS or NEO or something, but for the big market cap ones, there needs to be clarity in the market. And if the clarity in the market is that they're not securities, they might still be commodities, they might still be commodities.
Saying I'm also on the board of Ripple, which is XRP, cryptocurrency. But I want to make something very, very clear. Blockchain is here to stay. The train has left the station. You're going to hear me quoted about that all the time. As far as I'm concerned, whether it's fractional real estate, whether it's art, whether it's NFTs, blockchain is not going away. So the question is, how do we take advantage of this?
It's all about unlocking boundaries. We're here today because we believe in bridges between traditional financial systems and the new world of crypto-enabled systems, not boundaries. This is about expanding access to the global economy for all by interconnecting previously siloed systems and walled gardens.
So I think one thing, if there is one message that you can get in this room, is Ripple is not an ordinary company. We are not here to have a small market share or do X, do Y, and make small amount of money or something to happen. We are here to make a dent in the universe. Either we will change the remittance universe, the way you understand, the way value gets transferred across the world, between people, between institutions, or we will just fade away.
Some people have heard me say this before, but I'll throw it out to the audience. What is Interledger's total addressable market size? all the money. Nobody wanted to feed it. Yeah, it's all the money, because what we're really talking about with this idea of the Internet of Value is creating a single global payment network that connects literally everyone and processes maybe not 100%, but 90+% of all the money. That's what we're talking about.
In the year 2022, as you talk about the tokenization of everything, the value of non-fungible tokens, do you think next year is a year that perhaps we could purchase an NFT on Amazon?
Well, I think that one thing with Amazon and Apple, I admire those companies a lot, but when they adopt, it's ready for prime time. And, I'm not sure when they're going to adopt, but I'm excited that more and more corporations are moving in that direction. But, again, when Amazon and Apple decide to do something in this space, I think it's a big signal to the market that, almost everyone is going to adopt at that point. And so I'm excited for that and see what happens in 2022 with Amazon and Apple and a whole bunch of other enterprises as well.
Have countries like Switzerland and China all testing out the digital currencies. How are you gearing up for the disruption of money with central bank digital currencies? How will it change the way you and other banks operate in future?
Probably fundamentally. While we're not formally involved, no foreign banks are involved in the Chinese ECNY. I think we're as close to that as we can be to understand how that digital currency can be used for cross-border trade. Going back 5 years, we had digital currency underpinned trade finance and money settlement systems, and using as a medium of exchange, using things like Ripple's XRP, for example.
Listen, bitch, I said I want 100 shares of Ripple. I want 100 shares of Ripple. Yeah, I know it's going down, but believe me, I know my Ripple, it'll be coming up real soon.
We're considering very seriously. So we in our own paper we suggested that a CBDC in our jurisdiction should be privacy protected, intermediated, widely transferable, and identity verified. That's another issue to be managed. I think one of the things that Cato mentioned in your was also the run risk issue, and that is the question of, are you creating an asset that would be very attractive in a panic or severe stress situation and fostering runs. So look, it's going to be, as I mentioned, we think our role is this. We want to carefully and thoroughly analyze the public policy and technological challenges, public policy trade-offs and technological challenges. That's what we're doing. The idea is that this will lead all of us to a better understanding of those trade-offs and prepare the way for, hopefully, a well-informed decision on whether and when to issue a dollar central bank digital currency.
There's a long history of government and regulation thwarting such innovation and experimentation, which we find really disappointing. So I wonder if you could respond to these kinds of concerns, namely that regulators might ultimately strangle crypto to the extent that it really does develop into a viable alternative system.
So I'll talk about it in two pieces. One is unbacked cryptocurrencies as such, and those have not and don't appear to offer, and don't appear to offer much in the way of public interest in using them as payments, let's say. But stablecoins is a different thing, and the question is, are there forms of private money like stablecoins which can play a role in our financial system, which would and the answer is, of course, that we don't want to stand in the way of appropriate innovation, particularly including digital innovation. But we think that something like that, which is purporting to be money, would need to be appropriately regulated. So I think you need regulation. If people are going to think something is money, then it needs to actually have the qualities of money. And if it doesn't, then you don't want. I don't think you want to take money and make it into just another consumer product where sometimes it fails and sometimes it's good. You want it to be guaranteed to be good. If the public's going to look at it like it was a dollar, You want to have clarity, transparency. You want to have full reserves of very liquid, high quality assets, and things like that. That's all. So I think that we need legislation on this. Just it's typical of technological innovations. There isn't a regulatory framework that really gets after payment stable coins. And so I think that's what's needed. But I wouldn't think of us as being opposed to that kind of innovation. We're more the people who are saying, among others, that we need appropriate regulation.
I think regulators around the globe will sort it through, kind of bring them into compliance. And even for Ripple and Ether, or maybe it's EOS or NEO or something, but for the big market cap ones, there needs to be clarity in the market. And if the clarity in the market is that they're not securities, they might still be commodities, they might still need to comply with all those laws and so forth, but I think it's a period of time.
You think about cryptocurrency as a form of currency.
Well, I think the train's already left the station in terms of cryptocurrency. You may or may not know that I just joined the board of Ripple, and the reason why I chose to join that board, it's, in my opinion, one of the few cryptocurrency options out there that has a credible and legitimate use.
Awareness of the XRP ledger as a layer 1 option has been increasing. Those speeds, fees, scalability, low energy uses, and I think the track record, 10 years running, and the built-in DEX, tokenization, sourcing efficient liquidity. The XRP ledger rises to the fore as a core opportunity to differentiate against other chains with these features. The XRP ledger rises to the fore.
Bitch, I said I want 100 shares of Ripple. I want 100 shares of Ripple.
The XRP ledger rises to the fore.
Yeah, I know it's going down, but believe me, I know my Ripple. It'll be coming up real soon. It'll be coming up real soon.
We could have extended Ripple to include more smart contract capabilities, just like Bitcoin could be extended to include more smart contract capabilities. But then the problem would be, what if you want a smart contract that interacts with both Bitcoin and Ripple, or interacts with Bitcoin, Ripple, and some other system, like things in the real world? It made more sense to develop a new platform, we think.
So does that mean that you started to integrate smart contract capability within Ripple, but then you did it as something independent?
That's exactly right, and that's what Codius is.